The sign on the side of Mt Panorama says, "Go hard, Dickie," and it wasn't just plain tissue paper that it was written in either. Neil Crompton, our regular commentary team. How do you feel about the new circuit? It's sure a bit different for people that are regulars here or a regular viewer of our telecast.
It really is sensational, and good morning, Wilco, and good morning, everybody. Yes, for the 25 years that the Seven Network's been covering the James Hardie 1000, we've seen some enormous changes, but none like those that have occurred in the last 6 or 7 months. Really quite sensational. I arrived at the circuit on Wednesday, and it was as though we'd come to a different track, totally different complex.
Well, it's taken a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a lot of muscle to make those changes, and as we said, it certainly has changed the face of the mountain, and changed it, I think you'll find, for the better. The improvements are just outstanding. The safety measures are now second to none.
In the tradition of the grand old motor racing circuits like Spa and the original Nürburgring, our own Mt Panorama has always had that special something. Even well before it became a major national sporting event, the Hillside Road Course gave all variety of motorsport competitors and enthusiasts an enormous amount of pleasure. Built in the 1930s for unemployment relief, the Mt Panorama Scenic Drive and Racetrack has been the location for motorsporting personalities, highs, lows, and above all, drama. And today, the event comes of age. Staging the 8th round of the world title signifies the arrival of our beloved race on the international scene. And to accommodate the event, a total of $5 million has been invested for the most dramatic physical and commercial changes in its history.
We had to bring the race from early 80s or late 70s, if you like, through to late 80s, and bring it in line with the rest of the world in respect of international sport. So this facility and the facilities around the circuit now indicate that the James Hardie 1000 and the Mt Panorama can host any international race that's required.
To bring the Mt Panorama course up to international standards, a number of new features have been incorporated. Grateful assistance to the tune of $750,000 was injected by the state and federal governments, and the Bathurst City Council set out on an 8-month revamp project. The work entailed construction of protective concrete walls, widening the grass verges, upgrading sand traps, and the installation of debris fencing in the traditional mountain hotspots. But the most noticeable outward feature change is this. It's the deviation in Conrod Strait called Caltex Chase. The $300,000 alteration adds 40 metres to the track length, theoretically slows lap times, solves safety concerns raised by the FIA following the Bergman incident last year, and adds a dynamic new component to the track.
We had a FISA inspection in November last year and again in January this year, and then we had to go, and of course we couldn't start before Easter. But of course we've had to cater for the needs of the residents up there. We've had to talk to them. We've had to comply with the FISA requirements. We've had to look at the needs of spectators, both for now and in the future. And of course, most importantly, is the safety requirements. And in carrying out those safety improvements, I think the main thing is that we didn't change the character of Mt Panorama.
Coupled with these changes, there's been a $1.7 million redevelopment on Pitt Straight. 55 first-class pit bay and garage facilities have been built to house the world's most professional touring car teams. Incorporated in the 3-storey complex, there's also 23 VIP corporate suites, administration facilities and a plush new media centre.
It's an improvement. A lot of the people are still, the Europeans, are still shaking to the socks at the place around the top, but it's a drastic improvement, I think.
In line with sport in the 80s, the emphasis is on greater convenience for spectators and participants. Battling the mountain no longer means brushes with gum trees, letterboxes and sheer drops.
As for the chicane, if we want to call it that, I wished it was never there. And we have circuits all around the world now, due to accidents, unfortunate as they are, with chicanes on. They ruined Hockenheim, they ruined Monza, They're in the Ostrich ring, and how many more will we have? And we'll get down to a situation where we'll have thousands of Amaroos to race on, and they're not very exciting.
I've had some conversations with other drivers, and they all seem to think that they can't see in a lot of spots, but to be honest, in motor racing, you're never looking for the views, you're looking for the next corner, and I think it's quite okay. As far as I'm concerned, I'm very happy with it.
Our wonderful memories of Mt Panorama as it used to be now give way to a new era, a future even more exciting.
The 25th anniversary great race, the James Hardie 1000 at Mt Panorama, sure to draw one of the biggest crowds on record. I think Peter McKay, noted motoring rider, you'd agree with that.
Sure, it's just a great weekend, the World Championship here for the first time, Gary.
It was also interesting that production car racing, as it started out here at Mt Panorama, made a return this year.
Yeah, big long break back in the 60s and the very early 70s. Series production cars were what made this race. And after that break, they're back here for this weekend, a preliminary race. And we've got a few old names too. Leo Gage and Kevin Bartlett in the field.
And some promising young ones.
Yes, Bradley Jones in the Starion, Garry Waldon in the Mazda RX-7. And just looks like a good thing.
Well, these guys, of course, always, some of them have raced here in the big race before. They always have ambitions to come back to the mountain, and courtesy of Alpha Couriers, they had 6 laps in the Group E production car race here at Mt Panorama yesterday. Let's take a look at the action.
So the production cars forming up for the Alpha Couriers Group E touring car race at Mt Panorama, the first appearance of the production cars. Let's take a look how they line up on the starting grid. The top 10 starters: Bradley Jones, pole sitter in the Perrier Racing Starion. From position number 2 is Peter Fitzgerald in the Yokohama Tyres Starion. From 3, Garry Waldon in the Mazda RX-7. From 4, Mal Rose in the Commodore. From 5, Philip Brock in a Commodore. 6, Jeff Newton in the Commodore. 7th is Mark Gibbs in another Commodore. Then Roland Hill, Michael Preston, Peter Granger, Peter Dane and Kevin Bartlett. Flag is up. They're racing and getting away smartly on the inside. As they head up into the first turn, as Bradley Jones got away from Peter Fitzgerald, but look at Garry Waldon making a big run here in the Goodyear car, the blue car on the outside as they sweep. Oh, one's gone completely off the course into the concrete wall, bounced off the wall, still sideways, going beneath the bushes up there. They've all managed to just about get through the first turn and head up to the top of the mountain. Garry Waldon in the Maztec Automotives RX-7 will lead them. Oh, there's one gone straight out into the wall, heading up to West End Bend. I tell you, it's got a case of the bends now. Motorcraft Hill is the next one as they sweep up here towards VP Cutting.
That was car 11, went into the wall. Michael Preston in one of the many Commodore entries in the race.
This is going to be sensational stuff as they exit VP Bend and head to the top of the mountain.
Somebody's laying an appreciable smoke screen there for the rest of them. Car 21, Philip Brock going through in a Commodore. Peter Fitzgerald there, car number 3. The Yokohama Tyres entry was very slow off the grid and has got a bit of a fight back now to try and overhaul Brad Jones and, of course, Garry Waldon scorching along in front in the Mazda RX-7.
Sweep across through the top of the mountain, down now to the S's. Garry Waldon setting up quite a good lead. It's open, Matt. Heading down through the dipper. Rest of the field coming by. Just look at that. He's opened it yet again, so he's going to be very, very hard to beat inside the distance.
And car 15, Mark Gibbs, Commodore, up into 2nd place. Smart driving by Gibbs across the top of the mountain to get by Brad Jones.
They'll hit the right-hand kink, bringing them into Caltex Chase for the first time. Gives away very quickly indeed. There's Roland Hill in the NCR number 25 Commodore. Locking up a break, and I think he's gone off into the sand trap. Well, there's a new line.
That's Mark Gibbs.
And that has enabled Brad Jones to drop up into 2nd place very quickly in the Perrier Starion.
Fitzgerald up to 3rd.
Gibbs is 4th. That gives you an idea of the Caltex Chase where they come down off the old Conrod Straight through that new area of track and link up just beneath the Bridgestone Bridge.
An historic moment here at Mt Panorama. Production cars racing on the circuit. Garry Waldon leads at the end of lap 1.
They've had many and varied lines through this turn as they work their way up Mountain Straight. Here's Mark Gibbs coming up on the inside now. Peter Fitzgerald in the number 3 car takes him in the 15 car, heading up to Bridgestone Corner. Kevin Bartlett getting up on the pace with them as well as they sweep through here. Most of the interest in this race being on the traffic and some of the varied lines through the corners. Drivers have only had minimal practice. The circuit unfamiliar, I would think, to the majority of them. Their only practice being in a road car driving around the scenic Mt Panorama road course over the last couple of days. Up to West End Bend. Takes them onto the top of the mountain. Now towards Reed Park. Plenty of lurching through there. 3 Commodores in for a great scrap as they come down towards the left-hander at the Caltex Santra. Conrod straight. Once again, there's the race leader. And that, of course, is Garry Waldon, but he's under some pressure now from Bradley Jones in the Perrier Starion. Getting very close to him as they head down to Caltex Chase. Roland Hill making a good inside run here. There's Waldon, car number 5. There's Brad Jones. He's much closer this time as they head down beneath Bridgestone to the left-hander at the end of Conrod Straight.
Waldon not looking quite as confident as he was on that first lap, and that's why he's done to
2 drivers in front, of course, have had plenty of touring car experience here at Mt Panorama. Garry Waldon drove as a member of Alan Moffat's Peter Stuyvesant race team at the Mazda some years ago. And Brad Jones, of course, last year with Akihito Nakaya in the Starion in Group A trim. It's a pity, really, we don't see Brad running this weekend in the James Hardy 1000, one of Australia's most talented drivers.
Heading up Mountain Straight for the 3rd time in this Alpha Couriers Group E race. Lap 3 out of 8. And Garry Waldon continuing to lead in the Mazda RX-7. Brad Jones in hot pursuit. And that pair, they've managed to set up a bit of a break now over Peter Fitzgerald. Car number 3 holding down 3rd spot. Ahead of the swag of Commodores then. Mark Gibbs, Peter Granger, Philip Brock and Peter Dane. And there's a bit of damage. One driver shakes his head in disgust. At the halfway mark in this race, it's been run for him.
Race leader, Garry Waldon.
Brad Jones trying hard again to try and get on his tail. He was there a couple of laps ago, but just couldn't quite muster the horsepower to pull alongside and get past Jones under brakes. Just didn't have it. And he's throwing it about there, trying, and as he might, but I don't think he's going to bridge the gap. Fitzgerald going through in 3rd place. Top 3, Waldon, Jones, Fitzgerald as they head on to Conrod Straight for the last time in the Alpha Couriers Group E race here at Mt Panorama.
Heading down now towards Caltex Chase for the final time. Brad Jones trying to get on even terms with Garry Waldon, but that's really been the way the race has unfolded. Waldon able to sustain any challenge in the Goodyear RX-7. Sweeps out of Caltex Chase, goes over the top of our track cam. Last corner coming up, and the Alpha Couriers Group E production car race, a first for this weekend's James Hardy festivities at Mt Panorama, is in fact going to go to Garry Waldon. He takes the checkered flag. Brad Jones very close in 2nd, and Peter Fitzgerald was 3rd. Confirming the placings for the Alpha Couriers Group E production car race, Garry Waldon, the race winner, the RX-7. 2nd place went to Brad Jones, and 3rd to Peter Fitzgerald.